website called Arabs for Israel, and he wants to express his love for the Jewish people, and that and he is criticizing quite a bit Islamic extremism and jihad. So he's really the good Muslim who doesn't want to be a hate monger. As a result of that, because he communicates with the Arab world a lot of people in Saudi Arabia condemned him. And he was a bit scared, but he still gave me his poem in Arabic. That poem was very compassionate to the Jewish people and the Holocaust. And I posted it on my website. A few months later, he wrote to me that he's been getting hate mail, and finally 2 cars attacked his car, and they were talking about his poem to the Jews, and you're a Jew lover, you're a Zionist, and they used a knife, they pushed him down and then carved the Star of David on his back. And now he's begging me to help him to leave the state. There are many Muslims who are peace-loving, but they are they are going against the grain of Islamism.
This is why I brought this up. Okay, I don't know this man, but you believe this to be a true story. This is not some sort of setup.
I know him. I didn't meet him actually, but I've been communicating with him by phone, and he guaranteed to me that this is his position. He's scared, and he does look really legitimate to me. Okay,
so here he is, and he just has a different point of view, and this is what we heard even in the Senate hearings or the House hearings this summer. Muslims saying, "Help us, because these are ruthless people."
Yes. And because I'm a former Muslim, I left Islam and became a Christian. And I'm getting hate mail. A lot of people who are like me are having hate mail. We published something called a pledge for all the Islamic groups in America to please help us to denounce and renounce any death penalty against us. Not one Islamic groups wrote back to us signing the pledge. Only Mr. Zuhdi Jasser did that. He's a good man. He's a fantastic man, and that's it. So how can I be silent against a condemnation of death against me? Not only in the Arab world, but in Islamic organizations inside the United States.
Eric?
Glenn, let me give you an example of how dangerous it is for Muslims, not even ex-Muslims, Muslims in the U.S. to speak out. Back in 2008, I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places, the heart of the heartland, to investigate a story, a Pakistani Muslim immigrant, guy by the name of Jamal Mifta, moderate guy, great guy, loves America. He wrote an op-ed in his local Tulsa newspaper condemning al-Qaeda, saying al-Qaeda distorts Islam. Well, the next day he went to his mosque, which is the largest mosque in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was confronted physically by the mosque's leadership, threatened with physical violence, shoved around, and kicked out of the mosque. This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, not Cairo.
I will tell you that I was in, I think it was in Tulsa, and I was going to a show, and this was before I was well known, but I knew I had been very outspoken on on President Ahmadinejad, and I got into this cab, and he was a Muslim man, and I said, "So what do you think about Ahmadinejad?" And he started railing and just going off and saying all kinds of this man of hate, et cetera, and I realized that it was a setup for the real part about Ahmadinejad. He was talking about Bush. And he said the real savior will be President Ahmadinejad from Iran. He's a good man, and people just don't know. Norman, Oklahoma, is a big hotbed, and you wouldn't expect it to be here, but yet no one is talking about it. Yeah. Are we headed towards an event? Do you fear? I mean, Because were they here, the radicals like they are now? Were they here in 2001?
Yes, they were. After 9/11, the scrutiny was on them all of a sudden. In the 1990s, there are tapes, Glenn. I used to work for a guy named Steve Emerson. He was kind of the Paul Revere on this.
Great. He wanted to actually, he was going to be on the show. He is an amazing man. He is. But he's in having a hernia, I think, taken care of today.
Yeah, he's a patriot, and I learned a lot under him. And he had just volumes and volumes of videotapes from the 1990s, 1980s in Kansas City, Missouri, places you would never expect in the heartland of people calling for death to America, jihad, Jews are monkeys and pigs, very openly. Now, after 9/11, they became a lot more savvy. They know they're being watched. The Islamists in this country know they're being watched. But I think for Hizb ut-Tahrir America to emerge in 2009, this group, Glenn, has been here for 20 years. Hizb ut-Tahrir America has been active on U.S. soil for 20 years. Now, finally, they rear their heads in 2009 for the first time. Why? And this might sound conspiratorial, but I believe that when President Obama came into office, that was a signal. Hey, this guy is not going to apply the pressure to us. He has anti-Israel, pro-Islamic policies. And I have to tell you, if you want a clearer signal, April 2009, he bows to the king of Saudi Arabia. Do you think that didn't send a signal to radicals?
I think the signal, I mean, I think it's a safe thing to say that the president sent a clear signal to the Middle East and to radicals in this country when he said, rise up, when he supported the radical revolution that and said that Muslim Brotherhood is not, they're not a group of bad guys. That was a signal, I think, that move on, we're not going to be looking around here. We're not going to be looking around.
They regard us that 9/11 worked. That's how they look at it. 9/11 worked because America softened. The psychological impact on the American people after 9/11, at the beginning they were, of course, traumatized, but this trauma, I think, has caused us to accept things that we wouldn't accept otherwise. These kinds of groups, a lot of people tell me, but they are such a minority in America. Why are you worried? Why do you speak about
Westboro Baptist Church?
But the thing is, everything starts small. All these Islamist groups that we regard as nothing in America are removing governments in the Middle East, are causing riots, are causing subversion constantly, are scaring women to walk in the streets without their burqas. These groups have a long impact, not only on the regular person on the street, but on governments. President Sadat, when he signed the peace treaty with Israel, he told his confidants, I know I am violating Islamic law, and the Islamists are not going to, they are going to kill me. I know I'm signing my death warrant. And that was true. Just a few months later, he was killed, he was assassinated. And a lot of people don't understand why Sadat was assassinated. He was assassinated because under Sharia, the Muslim head of state, the Khalifa, his number one duty is to preserve the Islamic State, never make peace with non-Muslims, never make peace with the Jews. And the minute you make true peace with the Jews, you have violated your job as a Khalifa in the Caliphate, and you must be killed.
What happens to Israel as this proceeds?
Well, Israel is first in the crosshairs. Israel is the little Satan. Israel is obviously in the region. It needs to be blotted out. It's a historical mistake. It needs to be blotted out from the record of Islam. So Israel is first. But the great Satan, the ultimate prize, is us. America is the ultimate prize. People need to understand Israel, canary in the coal mine, as you've said.
People don't understand that, I mean, in every way, they dismiss people and say, oh, it's no big deal. They dismiss them every single time. We told you, oh, maybe it was June, about the Egyptian Nazi Party Now, the Egyptian Nazi Party is alive and well, and they've just come out with an incredible, incredible statement. Eric met with the, right? Or you know the history of the,
yes.
Yeah, okay, he knows the history of the man who is the head of the Nazi Party for Egypt, and it's a fascinating story. We'll go there next.